Alright, it is 10:14 a.m. and I want to make an update. I had two trades, one with ABML, one with KGKG. And ABML, this one got me pretty hard and I got played by it. If I don't have any other trades, I will be down a little on the day. It won't be very much unless I trade something else and it ends up being really profitable. I'll probably just have a small red day, which is fine. But I did trade ABML, and looking at it, it really wasn't the best setup either. But the idea with ABML, I had a buy at 942 at 126, which was right here at the very tippy top. Why did I consider buying it? This thing has been downtrending over the past few days, and I was thinking that maybe it can try to reverse and do something nice towards the upside, especially because it had news the other day that was good for it. So, I was thinking that, okay, it had this breakout here above this 125 level, and then it got a high level around this 130 level, but in theory, it probably should have been a much higher. But again, the idea is that it broke the 125 level, it shot itself to the 130s, so it was kind of really trying to make a move the other way. So when it had a panic right here from the 131s as low as the 123 level, 123 is a support level when you look at the chart. So I thought, okay, maybe it can try to hold 123 and try to return and then maybe break VWAP and then maybe try to go green on the day and then it can continue forward. But this one just doesn't really trade the volume to do stuff like that, and maybe it'll try to do it eventually, like it kind of is right now, but not the way I thought it was going to be, which is wrong on my side because I should have remembered really how this one trades. It's not very fluid, so I didn't want to trade it at first, but I did have an interest right here only because there was a large 25, I think it was like a 25,000 share seller at the ask at 126, but when it disappeared and there was support at 125, I had an interest, so I placed an order for that reason, seeing that the big seller that I thought maybe was preventing it from uptrending disappeared, and now I can really make, wow, this thing is actually trying to do it now after all this time. But that's why I got into setup. But what happened was is that when I got into setup, it immediately turned around and that the big seller came back, but now it came back at 125. And now it was scaring everybody and making it downtrend. And I had a trend line from here to here. Maybe it wasn't realistic. Maybe I should have stuck to my original risk level, which was the day low at 123 breaking. It never broke 123, and maybe if I somehow held this entire time and only gotten out if it were to have broken 123, maybe I would have been a part of this move now in the 130s, but that didn't happen here, and maybe I should have done that instead of drawing just a random trend line. After all, it wasn't really that much of a realistic trend line. I was just in this case just drawing a random line, so maybe that was my fault there. And because it started to downtrend and then the big seller at 125 that was originally at 126 now appeared at 124. I thought, all right, this looks bad. And then we were starting to hit 123, and I thought maybe it's going to break it. And I didn't let it break. I got out before, it would have done something like that, and it held. And I got out at 943 right here at the very bottom. So I really played myself here because I got in at the top of the range and I got out at the bottom. And, I got played because of that big seller that was appearing at the ask. But I guess I should have stuck to my original risk low, which would have been 123 breaking, and then maybe I would have been able to have been a part of this. So, yeah, I think that was a good lesson for what that was. And then I did trade KGKG, which is now trying a follow-up move towards the upside. We'll see if it does it. But as for KGKG, I got in at 948, and that was at 139. And just before we go over that trade, I did have an interest in this, but I just don't like the way it trades. It had a panic from the 139 level as low as 115, and then it shot, as you can see by this wick, all the way back to the 130s. And I had an interest. I never placed an order, but I did have it ready at 118, and I thought that if it drops here, then it spikes all the way back, maybe it will also have a very volatile drop towards the bottom, but it won't break this level, and then it will reverse, and that's clearly what happened. But I hesitated here. I just don't like the way this one trades, and I would have had a chance multiple times to get in at 118, and it did have a nice move to the 13 level. So that would have been pretty nice. I just didn't, be in this part of this, setup because I just hesitated once again. But maybe next time, if this one or another stock does something like that, I'll have more conviction and I'll actually trade it. And ideally, if that setup works then and there, and I can be able to profit from it and, just get better in that way. But yeah, this one actually worked out. And I did get in at 955 at 145, which was right. Yeah, no, actually that was my first sell. That was 948 at 139. Right here, I got in at 139. Yeah, right here. So why did I get in here? This line right here is like red to green. So at this point, it transitioned from being down on the day to up on the day right here, and it looked like it was going to break this level at 139 and then get to the 14s and maybe uptrend even more. And I was in it for that reason, and I got in again at that time at 140, not 148, 948 right here. It kind of sucked because after I got in, it started the downtrend, right? And I thought, all right, well, crap, if it breaks this level right here, and then it breaks just a little further at this 133 level, I had a interest of getting out. And because this one trades with a spread, I was ready to have to sell in the 12s if I had to, but that didn't happen. And then it started to work, which was great. I had my first sell at 955 right here and 145, and I figured that I'm going to sell half of my position while it's still up trading, so that if it doesn't work eventually and I have to sell for a loss, at least I sold half of the trade for a profit, which will be great. And then maybe I won't lose anything, or I'll be break even, or I just won't lose as much as I might have. So I did have half of my position sold right here, and I really like it. And then I drew a trend line from here to here, and it followed it pretty nicely. I did sell the ultimate piece at 10 o'clock right here at 142. It didn't break the trend line, but the price action was looking so bad, it looked like it was going to break the trend line and do something even crazier. So I did get out. Notice how my limit sell price is so low from where I actually got filled, because I didn't want to be in a situation where I'm trying to sell at a certain level and then it gets below the level, and then I have to cancel the order, and then it takes a long time for the order to cancel, and then I have to place another order, and then it's significantly lower because I wasted a bunch of time. I figure just having, it's almost like a market sell, a limit sell, but with like a really wide level, I'm not gonna, go through that problem. And again, I got out at this candle right here at 142 because it looked like it was going to break the trend line, and I got out before it was going to. And it did have a nasty wick as low as a 13 level, so that would have been pretty harsh. And it did hold this level here at VWAP. It's trying to make a move towards the upside. This was really good. This could be a setup that I can trade with, maybe 50,000 or 100,000 shares eventually. But right now I'm still trading small. And somebody left a comment earlier. You do not have to pay commissions to trade these OTCs on Fidelity. So, yeah, it would be pretty stupid if I was trading this and paying $6.95 or $9.95 for every buy and sell. That would be dumb, but that's not what I'm doing at all. And yeah, it did get to this level. I want to see if it can continue the uptrend. After all, it did drop 50% the other day, so maybe it can try to do something, but it doesn't have to. And yeah, I'll continue to watch this. ABML got as high as a 132 and it came all the way back down. This one's pretty sketchy, but in theory, that's what I had in mind. I just wish I had more volume and more, consistency, more trades. That's all I have for right now, and I'll make an update later. Okay, it is 6:37 p.m. and I am here to call it off. Overall, I am up. Just kidding. I am down on the day, $2.25 trading ABML KGKG, and I think with today, I went through a pretty good lesson in terms of when is a trend line useful, and a good example of using a trend line on a setup, and when is it just a stupid idea. Now, the thing with ABML, the setup did work out in that it had that breakout over this 125 level. It went up, and then it had this panic all the way back to that support level, give or take, and it did work. It did, as you can see here, get to the 130s. It didn't do much more. It doesn't really trade that nicely. It did have like a higher low right here under VWAP, and it did uptrend one more time, but this is a pretty illiquid stock. But with that in mind, the trend line that I drew and I based off of this trade was not helpful in that, I drew it from here to here, but it wasn't like a realistic point on the chart. It wasn't, a very significant point to draw this trend line, and it was useless, and it made me get out when it broke it at the bottom here, which sucked, but that's fine. Had I have risked my original dollar risk low, which would have been it actually breaking the day low, I probably would have held on to the trade, or maybe have gotten out of it for a slight profit or a smaller loss or a break even. But it did work out, the setup, and that was just a useless trend line. But when I had the other trade with KGKG, this was a great example of using the trend line. I drew the trend line from here, the first candle before it started the uptrend, to the dip that it had right here. This one allowed me to hold on to the setup better when I was long, I believe somewhere around here at 139, and it allowed me to sell half of my position while it was still at its highs, and then get out when it looked like it was trying to make a move towards the bottom and break the trend line. And this one allowed me to just have more patience to hold on to the setup, especially when I got in it back here and it just wasn't working immediately. If it were to have broken the trend line, maybe the setup would have completely failed, because the trend line was after a very realistic point. It was a real trend line based off of price action, not, just a random point off of two candles that I decided to make a line on. And I think that was, again, a good example of using it here, and allowed me to be able to trade that one profitably. And it did do that dip right here towards VWAP, and it did continue to get a little higher. It didn't do anything else. It didn't like break the day high, but I think that's a good lesson. If I had to pay $2.25 for that, I think that is fine. As for the other ones, there isn't anything else that I'm really interested in. Maybe there was a stock that was up on the day a bunch. I don't know. I'll do my scans right now. I've been working on other things since the last recording, but yeah, I think I just learned a pretty good lesson there, and I hope all of you who are watching this can learn from my mistakes too. And also, one more time, if you're trading OTCs, I know there are like people on YouTube who like to show off their referral links and want to make money off of you, referring you to other brokers when they do OTC videos, and it's like not even a good broker for trading OTCs. Seriously, I'm not affiliated with Fidelity. But if you want to trade OTCs and you live in the United States, and this might apply for Canada too, you can trade OTCs commission free on Fidelity. It used to be Schwab and Fidelity, but now it's just Fidelity. And I think that's a great way to, at least what I'm doing with it, trade very small position sizes and try to get the process down, and then eventually scale up, God willing. That's all I have for this video. Don't want to drag it on too much longer, but yeah, those were some pretty good lessons using trend lines.